I'll talk and then I'll give you this. So we are having a presentation tonight on community choice aggregation with Peggy Kurtz from Jewel, and I will let her present to you now.
Okay. I guess maybe this could move up a little closer. Oh, you're right. You're right. You got it. Okay. So, good evening. We're here this evening to discuss a community-based electricity program, which the town is exploring. I'm the community coordinator for Jewel Community Power, which will be the program administrator if the program moves ahead. So, the town of Clinton is a little formal statement before I begin. The town of Clinton is exploring the option to participate in an upcoming bid for electricity supply contract through the Town of Clinton Community Power Program. This program would provide eligible residents and small businesses with the benefits of renewable electricity supply at competitive rates. And I'll be explaining all of this more in plain English as we go forward. This is kind of a little overview of the presentation. I'm going to be explaining what is community choice aggregation, some of the reasons to participate, the benefits for participants. I'll be talking about the role of the utility, about the enrollment process, and answering frequently asked questions, and leaving time for your questions too. So the first most basic question is, what is community choice aggregation? Essentially with CCA, municipalities come together to create a large buying group. And through that large buying group, it's usually multiple municipalities, thousands of households, sometimes tens of thousands of households. The participants, residents, can participate and can get their electricity supply at lower cost or at competitive, really what I should say is at competitive rates for residents and small businesses. It allows municipalities to aggregate the energy demand and then negotiate a bulk purchase for eligible residents and small businesses. I want to make a correction. We cannot guarantee that the cost will be lower. I'll address that further as we go on. Another way to say it, the same thing, is that it shifts the selection of the default supplier from the state that many decades ago, probably in the mid or early 20th century, selected your utility. It shifts the selection of that selection down to your local municipality so that local leaders can choose what's best for their own communities. And it allows for the default choice to support renewable electricity at competitive rates. Community Choice Aggregation, or CCA for short. These are electricity supply purchase programs. They were they're authorized by Home Rule, and they were authorized by the Public Service Commission in 2016. PSC still oversees these programs today. Some of the benefits include clean, renewable electricity, competitive rates, strong consumer protection, and more choices for consumers. And I'll go over each of these in more detail. So in 2019, in response to climate change, New York State passed groundbreaking climate legislation that mandates a transition of the electric grid to 70% renewable energy by 2030. At this point, that's just a few years away, and 5.5 years away. And it must be 100% carbon-free by 2040. The state cannot meet these very ambitious goals, which will ultimately help to protect our own families and our own communities without participation by local municipalities and without participation by all of us. And in fact, the state recognizes these programs as among the most impactful programs a community climate actions that a community can take. So the aim of this program is clean energy, of making clean energy available and affordable to everyone. CCA programs are growing across the country. They really started as a cost-cutting program. Today they're increasingly being used to promote also renewable energy. CCA programs in New York State currently serve 64 municipalities with over 257,000 customers. There are 160 municipalities that are either, like Clinton, moving ahead, considering a program, or currently participating in a program. The CCA program started in New York State with a pilot program in Westchester in 2016, and today 2/3 of the municipalities in Westchester are participating in a similar program. So let's take a little closer look at how it actually works. CCA provides the electricity supply. I'm sorry, this says National Grid, but your utility is Central Hudson? Is that correct? Yeah, sorry. Okay, so at any rate, the utility continues to deliver the electricity. So the utility is really what you see in the middle. It delivers the electricity, maintains the lines and bills customers, delivers the electricity to you on the right-hand side of the screen. And what changes with CCA programs is, on the left, the source of the energy. It provides the opportunity to choose as the default renewable or standard electricity. Okay, just to repeat, with CCA, National Grid, I'm sorry, it should say Central Hudson, continues to deliver the electricity, repair and maintain lines and bill customers. I just really want to highlight that. This is actually an Orange and Rockland bill, so it looks a little bit different from your bill, but this is on page 2 of your bill. Most likely you're going to see the same thing. You'll see, obviously, there's gas, and then there's electric. Within the electric section, there's 2 subsections. On the right-hand side here on the O&R bill, you're seeing delivery charges, and on the left, you're seeing your supply charges. And I've just dropped in a red box around it, which you're not going to see on your bill. But if you look in the electric breakdown, you'll see supply charges. That's where you'll see a difference. On this particular bill, you can see it says Constellation New Energy CCA. That's the name of the supplier that was selected in the bidding process that the town will be going through. And you can see it says message from your electricity. Well, you can see at the top it says certain number of kilowatt hours at a certain rate. The bottom you see messages from your electricity supplier, Constellation New Energy CCA. That's the key thing to look for Rockland Community Power. And in your case, I think it would say Hudson Valley Community Power. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the enrollment process. So again, I apologize for not changing out National Grid for Central Hudson here, but most Central Hudson customers are eligible to participate. It is an opt-out program. Those who are eligible are automatically enrolled in the program, but can opt out at any time. And I'll explain that in a little more detail. So first, let's talk about who is not considered eligible. Once the rates are negotiated, then a mailing will go to all eligible customers. What you see here on the screen is those customers who will not get the mailing because they're considered not eligible. Actually, the biggest category is really demand customers, commercial customers. If you have larger commercial customers in your community, they are also not considered eligible. So looking at the screen here, the largest category is probably consumers who have already contracted with a third-party electricity supplier or ESCO or energy service company. Technically speaking, they can participate if they want to, but they would have to opt out of their current contract and then opt into the program. They will not receive the mailing as long as they're with that third-party supplier. Of course, you would want to check, if that applies to you, you would want to check first with the ESCO, the third-party supplier, to find out, is there an exit fee? When does your contract expire? All of that kind of information. Customers who have placed a block on their account. So that means they've called Central Hudson and they've said they want a block placed on their account. Okay. So that they can, technically speaking, also participate. They would have to remove the block on their account and then opt into the program. The next two categories are really considered, well, the next one, a home energy assistance program or HEAP recipients are not considered eligible. And that's because they're already receiving a subsidized rate. Customers on time of use accounts also considered not eligible. Technically speaking, again, they could opt out of that program and opt into this program. Eligible customers will be automatically enrolled unless they take action before the program begins. You can always opt out of the program at any time, and I'll address that in a minute. But you will first be automatically enrolled unless you take action before the program begins. That packet that you will receive in the mail will receive, you'll see that there are three options. One is there will be a phone number to call, a helpline to call, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, or you can always leave a message and we will call you back. There's also a prepaid opt-out card. All you have to do is just sign your name, put the date on it, stick it in your mailbox, and you're out of the program. Or there's a form on the website that you can fill out. Okay, here we see the details for the timeline. All eligible, once the rates have been negotiated and they're known, all eligible customers will then receive that information packet. It gives you the rates, explains the benefits, terms, conditions, will tell you about more information sessions, provides opt-out options, frequently asked questions. Then there follows a 30-day initial opt-out period. And you'll see here again, it says anyone can opt out at any time during the program with no exit fees. The difference between the initial 30-day opt-out period and opting out after the program launches is that you will then have to be moved back out of the program. And it does take one billing cycle and sometimes two billing cycles to move you back out. Then there's a period where we're opting people in and out, and then the program launches. I think it's about 6 weeks after the close of the opt-out period. And then you will see the program rate. I'm sorry, again, I apologize for, it should say Central Hudson here. You'll see where I showed you on page 2 of the bill, under electricity supply, that's where you'll see the name of the new supplier identified on your bill. So now I'm going to run quickly through some frequently asked questions, and then I'll open it up for your questions. First one is, does the program replace your utility company? No, as I mentioned earlier, the utility continues to remain responsible for actually what they're doing still today at this time, which is delivery, maintenance, and billing. Does it impact the reliability of your electricity? No, your utility continues to deliver the electricity and provides the exact same service whether you participate in the program or not. Will the program save you money? Savings are not guaranteed. The reason we can't guarantee this is because when we talk about cost savings, we're talking about relative to the utility. Utility rates fluctuate from month to month. Nobody knows what the rate will be, for example, in May, let alone next year. So we can't compare because we don't know what the rates will be. And therefore, the only thing we can do is talk about the past history. We can talk about what rates have been. What if you want to change your supply choice? Once the program launches, you can always call the helpline or fill out the enrollment change form. Really, the best way to do it is to call the helpline. You can do one of three things. You can change the supply selection if the town makes available more than one choice, which many municipalities do. Or you can opt out of the program, or you can opt back into the program with no fees or penalties. People sometimes ask me, can I go back and forth, opt out, then opt back in? Yeah, you can do whatever you want, probably up until the last couple of months. And there are no fees or penalties or participation fees at any time. Can you participate if you have your own solar panels, or if you participate in community solar or community hydropower? Yes, even if you use solar power, if you have solar panels, let's say on the roof, or you participate in community solar or hydropower, you're still required to have a supplier on your utility bill to cover electricity, any electricity not provided by your solar or hydropower. What happened, I can talk more about this, there are very often questions about what's the difference between this and community solar. This does not duplicate or conflict in any way with community solar. They're just different from each other. And I'll be glad to answer more questions about that. What happens when the program ends, when the contract ends? Your municipality may choose to renew participation in the program. If not, you will automatically switch back to to the utility purchasing the supply on your behalf. I'd like to end with some of the benefits after the boring logistics. There is the opportunity for at least 50% renewable electricity, often also for 100% renewable electricity, competitive rates, strong consumer protection. There's no bait and switch. What you see is what you're going to get. No individual contracts and no exit fees at any time. So here's the information for the helpline and for the email for the program. And now I'm glad to answer questions. Maybe what I should do is turn around. Okay. Yes.
I'll ask a question. Do I need the mic? Yes. Sure. They won't hear you. You mentioned before, so why not, since you said it already, talk about the difference between the community's solar and the CCA, because people do tend to get confused about those things.
Yeah, that's a little bit tricky question. I know. Very often people are confused by, should I face this way or? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, okay. Seems silly to continue facing the screen. So very often people are confused by the community solar versus CC, the electricity supply that I've been mostly talking about this evening. And they say, well, I'm already on a community solar program. Why do I need this? So they're different from each other. They don't conflict. They don't overlap. They're not doing the same thing. With this, it really actually replaces the electricity supply from your utility. It's different for each utility. The mix of energy, what they call standard energy, is really a mix, and usually there's a fair amount of it that is powered by, I believe for Central Hudson, it's about 57% powered by, from their most recent environmental disclosure form, from fossil fuels, from some mix of fossil fuels. It's replacing, the electricity supply is replacing that. As a result of your choice to participate in the program, you have the choice to choose the renewable energy, either 50%, possibly the 100% as well. And so it's replacing what you would be getting from a little bit more of the clean stuff is being fed, powered by renewable energy is being fed into the grid. A little bit less of what's being fed into the grid is from dirty power plants. Community solar, what you're really doing is you're supporting the development of new and much smaller renewable energy projects, basically solar projects. And that's a good thing also. And as a result of that, you do get a small guaranteed discount, but it's not the same thing. And that energy, while it roughly matches your energy usage, usually from the previous year before you signed up, it is not actually replacing the energy that you're using. I can give a longer explanation, but I feel like that sometimes I've started saying recently, it's like eating fruits and vegetables. They're both good, but they're similar, but they're different. Yeah.
So it wouldn't be replaced, if you had one, you would replace the other.
You can, if you really want to double down on your support for renewable energy, you can and should do both. There's no downside to doing both. You're going to get a small guaranteed discount for 20 years from the community solar. That's a nice thing for nice little benefit, and that's a result of state subsidies for community solar. And you will, you're going to be really sort of doubling down on your support for renewable energy with no downside to it, and no duplication, no conflict, no overlap. Yes. I'm sorry.
I didn't want to trip over the wire.
Sure. I'm just
Ray Oberly, just as a point of information, we did have this program and it ceased to operate about 3 years or 4 years ago, and it wasn't renewed, and this is a attempt to renew it. And I'm not speaking for or against, I'm just saying that was happening. The biggest question I have is two things. One, I don't know if you know the answer. Is there something in the contract that prevents the supplier going out of business and leaving us hanging again? Because that's what happened the last time I was in office, so I know all about it.
Right,
Now, how are you going to do that this time so that we have confidence that it's going to be more than 2 years or 1 year or whatever?
So I just want to preface my comments by saying that, yes, while that was regrettable and that was terrible, nobody lost money. Matter of fact, everybody came out, all the consumers who were on it came out quite a bit ahead. Actually, I think in 13 months, they came out ahead by, collectively, obviously, the Hudson Valley, I think it was by $7 million. So they came out quite a bit ahead. And the municipalities did not lose money either. But how are we going to prevent that? So that was really regrettable. Since that time, we really are looking much more strictly at the suppliers. And it's not that we weren't looking strictly at them before, but we're really going with larger suppliers that can take more of the ups and downs of the energy market, because it's hard on the suppliers also. So that is the problem. So we are really, the PSC and Jewel are looking really kind of being even more discriminating about the criteria that are used for the suppliers. So we're only using now suppliers that are much larger and more able to kind of weather the bumps of the energy market. Yeah. Yes.
Coming back to the CCA, that's the solar power that you buy. I tried for 4 times going through the system, dealing with all your management and everybody else, and never was able to successfully do it. It was a mess. Have you improved that part of the program? And that was a Jewel program.
Okay. So what was the nature of the problems that you were having?
I couldn't get a contract signed, or I couldn't get associated. I talked to the people on the telephone, but never got
You
it.
as an individual,
Yeah,
we're
you
not.
as an individual, not as supervisor.
I think they're pretty
4
efficient.
years. No,
I think they're pretty efficient. I don't know the people maybe who were
I know.
working on it at that time. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been with it for the program for a while, but I don't. But yes, I think they're pretty efficient. And I've heard of people, when it gets extremely hectic, having to wait a few days maybe. But I've never heard of anybody not getting.
Passwords and all kinds of stuff to get onto the system.
That I've never heard of about guessing passwords.
They have.
There are no passwords for this.
Community, yeah, CCA.
No.
No, community solar.
Oh, okay, that's different. That's different.
Yeah,
That's different.
That's the one I was talking about.
That's different. Yeah.
Because I wanted to do both of them.
Okay.
I knew all the management. I was
Right.
in every one of them.
Okay.
They all know me.
So, yeah,
Still couldn't get
you
it.
took it, I was trying to, when you said passwords, I was thinking, I've never heard of, I've been working for close to 4 years for Jewel, and I've never heard of anything requiring a password. So, yes,
The other one
you,
needed a password.
when you call, just to know, when you call, you will need your accountant.
Oh,
You'll need the obvious. You'll need your account information, the name on the account. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was easy. So, it was we did approve it and went forward, so, it's not a negative thing
Right.
as such, other than. It's not a negative.
Yeah. Can you sign in and just pass it on?
I'm just wondering if you can explain the requirements of the bid process that the town board will consider.
Okay, I'm not the person for procurement, so really that would be Hannah Karp or Louise Gava or Glenn Weinberg. But I can tell you that there will be a number of decisions that the towns will need to make. So I think that might be part of what you're asking. So what the town will be deciding basically is they'll be deciding collectively with the other municipalities on a supplier, and that's something that Jewel will be advising on. They will be deciding collectively on, actually, I think individually, perhaps, on the term of the rate. So they'll be coming back to them from the suppliers with different, maybe pass it along, with, the rates for 12 months, 24, 18, 24, 36. And so that will be a decision that the town will need to make. And then which energy options to offer and which one will be the default. So there's usually 3 different choices. One of them is something called the standard energy that mirrors the same mix of energy as what the utility is offering. The other one, in the next one up, is 50% renewable, and I can explain that in more detail if you want. And the other one is called 100% renewable. Okay, yeah. So the 50% is a little bit less expensive, and basically it's 50% renewable energy from within the state, and 50% it's wind energy from out of state, matched by out-of-state RECs, renewable energy certificates, and that's not considered 100% renewable that's not considered renewable energy. The out-of-state energy is not considered renewable by New York State. It has to be sourced within New York State for them to, and matched by renewable energy certificates from New York State in order to be considered renewable by New York State. That's the rule. So that, I hope that helps you a little bit, but you're going to need to, the decision maker, the liaison, there's other things like that, but I'll leave the rest of it to the others. Yeah. Other questions? Yes.
Have you selected? You said you're working on you haven't selected a vendor yet?
No, there's a bidding process.
Okay. Any idea what the time frame is in terms of having somebody in place?
That's a good question. I'm just sitting here trying to think about that. It takes several, I don't want to try to, off the top of my head, it takes several months to go through the implementation plan has to be approved by the Department of Public Service. That takes about 30 days. Then an RFP is put together for the municipalities. It's going to be a little while, and then there's time for the suppliers. Then the suppliers, then they come back to you with indicative pricing. I think you've been through the process before. Yeah, come back with indicative pricing, see whether it seems like it's a good time to move ahead or not. And then finally there's the bidding process where we get the final prices. Yes, sure.
Ray Oberly again. How many municipalities are in the current process mix that you're talking to? We had about 7 or 8 the last time.
Right. So that's kind of a work in progress, and I can't really answer to you which municipalities they're thinking. I don't really want to get ahead of what I'm supposed to be saying, but I believe there's at least one large one that they're planning to pair. Clinton. Yes, City of Poughkeepsie contracted recently. I know the town of Poughkeepsie is considering it, but is just beginning the process. So I don't really want to, but that's up to Jewel to pull that group together. That's something that you don't have to worry about. They're going to make sure they're not going to go out to bid until they feel that they have a group that's large enough to give you an advantage.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm late. I didn't catch the whole thing, so pardon me if my question is stupid. What's the benefit? Is it like 15%? What's the benefit of yes, cost savings? And hold on, while I'm here. So it says that you're automatically enrolled, not unless you opt out, right? So that means all the Central Hudson, let's say me, if I don't do anything, next thing I know, I'm enrolled, right?
If you don't do anything during that 30-day period,
Yeah.
you're going to get a packet. It's going to give you very easy options to opt out if you want to.
Yeah, so that means right now, if we dive into it, so that means the Central Hudson customers will just gonna be automatically enrolled, not unless you opt out within 30 days. That's fine. And there's no penalty if you opt out after 30 days? Yes, at any time. All right. Just if you could just explain the cost benefit. And so let's say my monthly bill right now is, let's say, $250. Like, what will I see? Where will I check? Thank you.
Okay, sure. And I just want to address, wait a minute, you were saying something that I wanted to address before, and it's slipping my mind. You asked about the cost benefit, but you also mentioned something else. You remember? Opt out, right. So just realize that Central Hudson is currently an opt-out program. If you move into Clinton today, you are automatically opted into Central Hudson purchasing from power plants on your behalf. So that's already an opt-out program, except that it was selected at the state level. Now that choice, now PSC is saying, municipalities, go ahead and make the decision that's best for your community. Okay, so they're giving that option. So you can, it works the same way in a sense. You can opt out of Central Hudson and you can go with an electricity supplier. In the same way, you can opt out of this program and do whatever you want. You can go to you can choose an electricity supplier on your own. You can do any of the same options are still available to you now. Cost benefits. So I don't know whether you've already heard me say this, but cost savings are not guaranteed. We can't guarantee them. And that's because when we talk about cost savings, that's a comparison. Cost savings relative to the utility. But we actually don't know what the utility rates are going to be because they fluctuate from month to month, sometimes by quite a bit. I remember one time, I don't know, hearing that the Central Hudson rates were up to 22 cents per kilowatt hour, and then the next month maybe they were way down. So there's no way, we don't know what they're going to be in May, let alone, a couple of weeks from now, let alone next year.
So, okay,
Yeah.
a follow-up with that. So, okay, that's fine. So what's this?
That's not really the reason to do the program. Yeah.
Okay, good. That's the question. So what's the sales pitch? Like, why am I gonna take this program? Yeah.
So first of all, I want to say, for myself, it's not a sales pitch, okay? A few years ago, I was on your side of the table. I was a resident who advocated to bring this kind of program to my community where I live in Nyack because of the benefit, because it is considered one of the most impactful, one of the most powerful climate actions a community can take. And then I was offered a job working for the program. I'm a long-time climate advocate, and that's why I feel very strongly about the benefit of the program. I would say the key factors are really competitive rates. Last time, everybody in the community did very well, came out well ahead. I'm not promising that the savings are going to be the same at all, and I can't promise anything in terms of what the cost savings would be. But that is a there are potential savings. The rates will be stabilized. They'll be competitive. Renewable energy, clean energy, when an entire community decides to go with a program like that, that's a powerful impact. As I mentioned, I don't know if you came in after that slide that I showed that the goals that for New York State passed the Climate Act in 2019 that mandates that the grid must be powered 70% by renewable energy by 2030. That's just a few years away. We can't get there. We can't get to these goals, which we need to get to, without action by all of us. So that's really the key reason for it. Strong consumer protection, there is no bait and switch. A lot of the third-party suppliers have been guilty of bait and switch, not every contract, but very often they'll bring you in at a low introductory rate and then they raise your rates sometimes by quite a bit. With this, what you see is what you're going to get. And then the last one is it actually increases your energy choices. It's not taking away an energy choice. You're not forced to participate. You can participate or opt out of it. But you can try it. You can play the market and come in sometimes and leave. But you always have to keep in mind that it takes at least one billing cycle, sometimes two, depending on where your billing cycle falls out, to move you in or out of the program. Yes.
How long a contract period are you talking about? 2 years, 4 years, 10 years?
I think it's pretty safe to say not 10 years and probably not 4 years, especially in such a volatile energy market. I realize we've been through the pandemic when energy rates were at historic lows, and we also saw the war in Ukraine and extreme weather and all of that kind of making everything go crazy. So it's a very volatile energy market. I don't know the answer to that. Julia is going to advise on that, and the towns and the village will see the rates, and they're going to see, oh, this supplier is offering this rate for 18 months, 12 months, 24, 36. Those are usually the options. Lately, it seems like they're shorter, probably because of the volatility of the market. Other questions? Still remaining questions about community solar or anything else? Trying to think what some of the other questions are usually.
Michael, how long was our existing contract?
The last one was, I think, 3 years.
Until they canceled it.
Yeah, after 2.
It was, I think, 4 years altogether, but it bounced earlier because the supplier wouldn't supply.
It was 3 altogether.
Oh, it was 3 altogether.
Three rounds of it. So this would be your fourth round of it, actually.
No, we did 1 round.
Okay.
Then we didn't.
Okay.
Now working.
Okay. Other questions? Comments? Complaints? Yes.
One of the things people tend to think that they're going to save a whole lot of money on their monthly utility bills, but most of those costs are costs that we're already incurring. In other words, delivery. Delivery costs are not affected. The only cost is the electric purchasing. Right.
Yes. So I don't know if people heard that, but yes, this gentleman is commenting that delivery actually makes up a large percentage of the electricity costs, and that's correct. Sometimes I've noticed that it's more than the supply on my bill.
So you will save money on the actual kilowatt hours, but not necessarily on everything else.
That's correct, yeah. Or you could potentially save. You can potentially save, yeah. Okay. Sure. Okay, I don't play with it because I don't. Oops, I'm sorry.
So I just want to thank Peggy for the presentation on CCA, and hopefully a lot of you are watching on Channel 22. All right, and contact my office if you have any questions. Or the helpline. You can email info@HudsonValleyCommunityPower.com.